Hi there. Today I'm going to start instructions on how to make this little cowboy hat or hat out of fleece. It's simpler than the vinyl hats, and it's basically only 3 pieces. So first thing you want to do is you want to get your paper out. Your first circle is going to be a 9-inch outer circle. So set your compass at 4.5 and do your 9-inch circle. And then your inner circle is going to be a 3.5-inch circle. So you want to mark your center part, your center dot, and then set your inner circle at 1 3/4, and then make your inner circle, and then cut your paper out. So what you're going to need is you're going to need 2 pieces. I'm using a heavy fleece. This is the Arctic fleece, and I didn't cut the circle out, so you can see how I'm going to cut the circle out of here. What I do is I come up from underneath because it's easier to cut than trying to cut it on the top. So I'm just going to come around and cut that inner circle out, but you're going to want to cut both of these out. This inner circle is what you want to fit your doll's head. So if you're not dealing with an 18-inch doll head, you're going to have to work out your own dimensions. But since these are for the Journey girls or the American girls, 3.5-inch circle in the middle seems to work out well. But anyway, if you cut from the bottom here like this, it'll come out a lot easier, and instead of trying to cut up this way, it just doesn't work out. On the berets, we had an actual cut in the outside of the ring, so it was a lot easier to cut out, but these you have to cut it out of the middle. Another thing I should mention is when you're ironing on this fleece is synthetic. It's a man-made material. It's not made with like sheep's wool or cotton or anything like that. It's a processed fabric, and it's got like polyester fibers and plastic fibers in it. So if you put too much heat on your iron, it's going to break down these synthetic fibers in here. So you want to use a very lightweight iron when you're ironing with the fleece, or you might as well just use pins. Just pin this on if you don't want to break down your any of your fibers in your fleece. That's why fleece doesn't do well in the dryer, and it piles up and gives you those little lit things. It's because the heat makes this fleece break down. Okay, so then you got your 2 circles made up, 1 and then 2, and then your next piece is going to be a strip. I'm making my strip 17 by 4.5. It's up to you how high you want your hat top to be. So once you make your first one, and you can use different fabric, it doesn't have to be fleece, but because I am dealing with fleece, there's going to be a lot of give once we sew these together, so that's why I give myself 17 inches. I don't need that much, but I'll show you when we get there why I'm using that 17 inches. So same thing, so you got your 2 circles, and you've got your 1 strip, and that's basically your whole cowboy hat. I was going to do another cowboy hat with this dark green, and I liked it so much as a top hat that I didn't even bother finishing it up, because I'm going to, once I got my 2 circles sewn together and I got my middle strip sewn on, I thought it looked really cute as a top hat. So I'm going to make this as a top hat instead of as a cowboy hat. But it's the same technique. So we're going to sew our 2 circles together. We're going to top stitch to make it as round as possible, and then we're going to take our long 17-inch strip, and we're going to take it and we're going to sew it to our outside ring. The only way we're going to be able to sew it to that outside ring is if we put little cuts into that ring so that we can straighten it out and get it flat as we sew it. But we'll get to that step. If you want to make a top hat, basically once you figure out how much of that 17 inches you want to sew, you can decide what kind of a slant you want to put on the top of your hat. So you can actually slant this in and get a small top hat so that your seam is here. And as far as this piece here for the top hat, just keep trying it until you get a nice fit. So if I did it like this, I would turn the hat inside out and I would start pinning this right sides together. The fleece, the smooth side, is your right side. The side with all of the pile on it and the bumpy area, that's your wrong side on fleece. So go ahead and pin this to your hat, and if you have too much fabric to go around your inner circle, then just take this and cut off like an eighth or a quarter of an inch at a time until you can get it to fit perfectly. You don't want to stretch your fabric because you're working on, a lot of these are biases, so you don't want to stretch your fabric if you can help it. But that's why I don't have a set amount on that 17 inches, because this fleece does have a tendency to stretch. So as you're pinning this and it doesn't fit perfect around the top circle of your top hat, then just cut your circle down. And you'll find out once you get around whether or not you have too much. See how I have a little too much? It's not a perfect fit. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut off an eighth or a quarter of an inch until I can get it to fit my circle perfectly. I can force it in there, but I don't really want to force it. I want it to look nice when I turn it inside out and not have any gathers on the top. So that's why I'm going to cut that top circle down even more. So once I sew that and I get this cut to the size I need it, that's going to be my top hat once this is all sewn together. And another thing, if you don't cut that circle down right, you're going to have that little puffy look on the top. If you want that look, great. If you don't, then make sure your circle is smaller. Another with this too, I don't know if you've ever seen Zorro the movie. This is one of those Spanish hats too. You use the same technique, only you don't go 4.5 inches. You only go to about, I would say maybe 4.5, maybe 2.5. Make your strip, this strip, only half of what this is, and then put your top on, and you'll get a Spanish gaucho hat, like the Mask of Zorro. And you can also put eyelets. You can put an eyelet here and an eyelet there, and then run a cord or two eyelets and a double cord. It's up to you. But then you can put your cord here and then have a cord to hold it on your doll. Also, another thing, if you want to make one of those like Cat in the Hats, you just keep doing strips of different colors all the way to make your hat as big as you want. If you wanted to angle out this way, you would make this even wider than 17 inches, and you would angle it, your strip, you'd angle it this back seam. When we come to this, you would angle it outward so that the hat will come up, around, and then down. So that's how you're going to do that. So this is the top hat. It looks really cute on the dolls, and it won't stay up by itself, so when I line it, I'm going to have to line it with some interfacing, some heavy interfacing, if I want it to be perfectly straight. But if I want it to, let's see if I have a doll here, if I want it to, go floppy like that, I wouldn't use any kind of interfacing at all. But anyway, that's how you're going to get a top hat for your doll once it gets done and lined and everything is up there. And that's how you're going to do that hat. So this would be really cute in black, and you'd be able to put any kind of decorative strap around it. I don't have anything here right now, but you can take any kind of ribbon, or you can take matching fabric and make all kinds of straps in here to create any kind of design you want with these hats. And they're so easy. It's just amazing how simple these are once you get the technique down. Another thing is, on this one, I haven't even put anything on here. This is just a strap of fur and a couple feathers. If you're at Michael's has all the different types of feathers. They have peacock, they have marabou, they have guinea hen. Oh gosh, they have so many of the beautiful ones, the pheasants with the pretty blues in them, and then they have all of the colored ones. They have every color of the rainbow. You'll find these feathers, and you can just decorate them and make them any way you want to with these hats. You can do a Halloween hat, there's just all the different colors, and you can just mix and match these with whatever you want to make on these hats. You can make them permanent, or you can put them on like a bar pin and then put a bar pin on here. There's just so many things you can do. Okay, so that's that. So let me get to the sewing so you can see how easy it is to sew these. Let me get started on that. Okay, so we've got, I gave you the dimensions. Your inside circle is 3.5, your outer circle is 9, but your outer circle is up to you. This is an earlier one that wasn't a 9-inch circle. This one was probably a 7.5-inch outer circle, and you'll get a smaller hat for a different type of look. So you can even go with a bigger outer circle. It's just like the berets. However big your circle is what your hat's going to look like. So 9-inch outer circle for the demonstrated one, a 3.5-inch inner circle for this one. And then we're going to do the 2 brims and the 1 rectangle, and that's your whole cowboy boot. Okay, so your first step is to, let me put this away. Lost my paper. Okay, so first step is take your 2 right sides together, and you're just going to sew all the way around the outside. So just line those up and make sure you have both of your outside pieces together. Because I'm using the Arctic vinyl, it's very thick, so I'm using a jean denim needle. This is for your thick, penetrating, extra thick woven fabrics, denims, or quilts with minimum needle deflection. It seems to be working fine with these. When I'm only doing 2 layers together, I can do a regular needle, and if I'm using the light felt, I can use a regular needle. If I've got this Arctic felt, it seems to work better if I go through with the thicker needle. I don't miss any stitches, and it just seems to sew better. So all you're doing is just lining this up, and you're just going, you can probably just sit it there and sew it, but because the way you cut this, and it has a tendency to stretch, I pin it together to prevent a lot of undue pulling when I'm sewing this through. See, look at this already. So I've already pulled this someplace where I shouldn't have pulled it, and I've already got that. One edge is a little bigger. So that's how easy it is to stretch this fleece. So I'm going to go back through and repin it and find out where I pulled the fabric and get it to be all smooth again. So let's do this. We'll just keep pinning and go backwards. It could have been also how I ironed it on, but the flatter you get these together to match, the better they're going to look by the time you sew them and turn them inside out. They'll look. You want to have it as pretty neat as you can, but you're dealing with fleece, so it's not going to be perfect. So first step is to sew around the outside, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm using a 1/4 of an inch seam. I'm using regular thread, and I'm using that denim needle, and I'm just going to sew all the way around the outside. So I'm going to get this started, and then I'm going to finish it off camera. And then I'll show you how to make the cuts. Just do a couple back stitches. Okay, so I'm going to finish this all the way around, and it takes a long time to get around this circle, so then I'll come back and I'll have this all the way sewn around. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I've just finished sewing all the way around my circle. I've just did a couple back stitches. Now I'm going to cut this off. I'm just going to cut my strings. Okay, so there I am. I've just sewn all the way around the outside of this circle. That's it. That's all I've done. All the way around the outside. Just sewn it. So because I don't want this to be really thick, if you look at this one right here, you're going to see how thick this is because I didn't cut it and I didn't trim this. So if you look at the green one, I cut my seam, and I also did clipping in here, and you're going to get a much nicer, easier brim to sew around here. So your next step is going to be to take a pair of scissors and trim down one of these seams. So don't cut your stitches, so just come in here and cut away. You've got about a 1/4 of an inch seam, so cut away about 1/8 of an inch. So you're thinning out one of your edges so that when you turn it inside out, it won't be so bulky. So you see what I'm doing? I'm trying to look here at an angle. So I'm cutting that. I'm going to do that all the way around the outside of this circle. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to make little clips here. The reason for that is because when I turn it the opposite way, that's going to give it some room to move around. But be careful you don't cut your stitches because you don't want that. If you mistakenly cut some of your stitches, just put another little seam in here to cover up your clip where you shouldn't have done a clip. So then once you get those cut and clipped and cut, then you can turn your whole hat around. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a top stitch line on here. We're going to push this all out, and we're going to get a nice, we're going to pull this out, and then we're going to pin it. We're going to keep pulling this out with pins until we get the seam out, and then we're going to pin it like this, and then we're going to be able to top stitch all the way around the outside. And basically what that is this top stitching right here. So you want to do a contrast. You want to do a color that won't show. And here I did green. You see how I did the green top stitching all the way around the outside of the hat. And that's just to keep it from not flat. To keep it flat. Okay, so I'm going to finish clipping this. I'm going to trim my seam, clip it, and then I'm going to turn it inside out, and then I'm going to take a whole bunch of pins and I'm going to pull my seams out and try and get this circle as round as possible all the way around the outside, and then I'll come back and show you how I did that. Okay, I'll be back.